All right then, so now what we are going to do is, so far we completed displaying the jobs and saving the jobs for the collection. So in this video now we are going to apply the search filter and the category wise filter, right? So we already have that action. So let's get into the get jobs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close everything except this particular page, close all. Later we can open it. Okay, then I'm just going to search for getjobs.ts. This is the place, and let's open the search container. Okay, so now what I need to do is, this is the place where I do have this search. Okay, so for this, what I need to do is, the user will type here and it need to wait. For instance, if I search for UI, it will wait for certain milliseconds and it will push the URL param and it will start searching that. Okay, so the reason why we need to wait, it's because if you are constantly typing, it will again and again trigger that API instantly. So we don't want to do that. So we need to give that certain milliseconds delay for the user to finish typing it. Okay, so this is what that we need to do now. Okay, so let's go ahead and do it over here. We already do have this particular thing. So in order to delay it, right, we need to delay that particular stuff. So in order to delay that, what I'm going to do is, let's go here. Wait a second. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to create a debounce value. So let's go ahead and create that. So let's go here, minimize everything. So I'm gonna create a new folder for custom hooks. So let's create the folder called hooks. Inside the hooks, I'm gonna create a new called use debounce.ts. And over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say export const use debounce use debounce is equals to, okay, it's going to be a callback function just like this. Now we need to mention the type, right? So this function, it's going to be a type of variable t. Okay, and inside here I'm going to have the value parameter, which is going to be the t itself. Then I need to say the delay, which is going to be a number. Okay, and by default value I'm going to keep it as 500 milliseconds, and the return value should be t. All right, so don't worry about this because this is a written value. So far we haven't written anything. So here what I need to do is use state, and let's get it over here, and I'm going to say debounce value and set debounce value as a function. And here you need to supply that value, whatever the value that we are supplying it from there. Then I'm going to say the type of t over here. Perfect. Then I'm going to say use effect, open it. It's going to take two different parameters. One, it's going to be a callback function, and two, it's going to be the array of dependency injections. Then enter. So first we need to update the debounce value after the specific delay. So update the debounce value after the delay. So over here, what I'm going to say, const handler is equals to set timeout. Okay, so I'm going to open the set timeout and I'm going to supply the delay value over here, and inside over here what I'm going to say, set debounce, it's going to be the value. All right, so then right after here we need to clean up the function to clear the timeout on the component whenever it's get unmounted. So this is the explanation. Clean up the function to clear the timeout on component unmount. Okay, or whenever the value changes, we need to clear that. Okay, so return, we need to return clear timeout and call that function. That will be clear that specific timeout. Then right at the end over here, we need to supply inside this, whenever the value changes, reload it, delay value changes, reload it, and finally return the debounce value, so you will not get any errors. So save these changes. You will understand why this function and how they are going to delay that typing effects. Basically, we are not going to delay the typing effects. We are going to delay that event. So once the user finish typing, it will wait for 500 milliseconds and it will trigger the API after that. That's the purpose of this. Okay, then what we need to do is, let's get into the search parameter in the search container. Okay, this is the place where we need to get the get to trigger that title over here. So what I need to do is So here I'm setting up the value state as a default. Okay, so what we need to do is once you start typing, something will be pushed up over here. So even though if the user refresh it, we need to get that value and we need to display it over here, not an empty string. For instance, if the user searched for UI and he refreshed it, still the URL will be there, so the title will be there. We need to get the title and we need to display it in the search box. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is right above here, first I need to get the search parameter. So const search params is equals to use search params. Open it. Make sure that is from next navigation. Then I need to get the router is equals to use router from next navigation. Open it. Then I need to get the path name. Const path name is equals to use path name from next navigation. All right. So I need to access all the category ID and the title, created at filter, shift timing, all those things, which is exactly what we used over here. Okay, so that then I can construct the query params. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally create those values over here. So I'm going to access. So we know that category ID is not there, created at filter is not there, shift timing, because we are going to create a new URL param. So for instance, if the user already searched for category ID, so category ID also will be there. And if you're searching for title, and the title also will be there. So once you, if you're not fetching the value from the URL parameter properly, so what happens, it's going to replace the entire route and the filter options also is going to be collapsed. So what I'm trying to say over here is, for instance, if you're searching for software development, so that is the category wise filtration. In that category, I'm looking for UI. Right, so we need to filter both of them. So you can't replace the route every time whenever you're clicking any one filters. We need to keep all the filters in the same path. So that's the reason we have to fetch wherever I'm applying the filters. I need to get everything, then I need to push into the URL, whether it is there or it's not there. It doesn't, it's not our concern. We need to get it and we need to push it. Then over here, if there is the current title, that is current title, use it, or else use the empty string. This is how you need to keep it. All right, so make sure this category ID, all these things are exactly same. Category ID over here, which is same, then get created at filter, make sure all of them are exactly same. No mistakes in that, because we should not make any mistakes over here. So I know that it's already exactly the same, but anyways, I'm just copying and pasting it for your confirmation. All right, fine. Then what I need to do is I need to supply this value into the debounce value, because this value needs to wait, right, for a certain millisecond. So for that, what I'm going to say, const debounced value is equals to use debounce from where at hooks and supply the value into it. All right. So this value will be passed and the delay timeout will be set and the value will be updated over here. Perfect. Right. Then what I need to do is we need to set this debounce value and we need to create the query string. So let's import the query string first. Import from query string. So let's import the QS, not this as an object. This is going to be the package name completely like this. Okay. So here I'm going to create the use effect, open it. Okay. Then let's say call our callback function, open it. Then it's going to have an array of dependency injection, enter. Here I'm going to construct the URL is equals to qs.stringify URL. Make sure that's a stringify URL, not stringify alone. Okay. So enter. And here we need to add comma, so later we have to do something else, so otherwise it's very hard for us to figure out where that particular object is being finished. So URL, which is going to be based on the path name, whatever it is. Then I'm going to construct the query. So the query, which is going to be title, which is based on the debounce value, because that is the variable which contains the whatever the value I typed over here. Then I need to supply the category ID. So what I have to do is supply this category ID exactly the same way. Category ID, which is going to be the current category ID, then created at filter, which is going to be created at filter, then shift timing, which is going to be current shift timing, then work mode, which is going to be current work mode. All right, so now we have all those queries and everything. So now all we have to do is to push this stuff. Okay, so then right over here add comma, then open the object. If if any one of the param is null, so we have to make sure skip the null, otherwise we will run into error. If anything is empty string also, keep it, simply ignore it. That's it. This is how it should be. Then all after here I need to push this, so router dot push this particular URL. Okay, and the dependency injection should keep track the debounce value and the current category ID, and it should check the router as well as, and it should check the path name, and it should check the created at filter, then current shift timing, then current work mode. These are the values that it needs to keep on check. Then the use effect needs to render every single time whenever the value changes over here. All right, now let's check it out whether it is working fine or not. For instance, if I search for UI, it should push. Yes, now we can see there is changes in your title over here. See, search URL param title is equals to UI, but nothing is happening. The reason is because, so if you check your console, for instance, if I'm searching for UI developer or something, so the URL will get updated. Okay, and if you check it out over here, see we have the job count as 10 because this title, it's not keep on filtering the data inside our get jobs. Okay, we need to do that. So what I'm going to do is, right after here, this is the place where we need to check the apply the filter, right? So what I'm going to do is we are going to try to do the apply the filter for the title and as well as the category now. So we need to check whether the title or category is provided or not. Then we need to construct the query according to it. So here, if the type of title, if the type of the title is not equals to, it should not be equals to what? Undefined. It should not be equals to undefined, or the type of category ID, that is also should not be equals to undefined. Is that a case? Then we need to construct this query. So here, this is the place you need to say query dot var, okay, is equals to, open it. We are going to apply and condition, and because basically we need to search for that title even including that category. Okay, we should not use or, it should be in that category and it should match that particular title string whatever we are searching. Okay, that's the reason we are using and. So here, check the title is provided or not. So type of title not equals to undefined, then construct this query. Only if it is undefined, construct this query. So title, which is going to be, say, contains, we need to use this contains, it should have this contains called title. It should contain the title in that query. Then mode of that, it's going to be insensitive. Okay, make sure, because this perform the case sensitive search. Okay, if you don't mention it by default it's going to be searching for case sensitive search. For instance, if it is capital letter U and just typing small letter, it's going to ignore it, but we don't want to do that. So that's the reason we are mentioning the mode as insensitive. Okay, then we have to do the same stuff for what? For the title. So this is the place it's getting ended. So right after this and search for type of, if the type of category ID which is not equals to undefined, then construct this object which is going to be the category ID, open it, which is should exactly equals to the category ID. Okay, that's the reason this is the query that we are adding it. Okay, so this is the array, it's getting ended. So all these conditions should return the true. So we need to filter out the undefined value. So I'm just going to say filter boolean. If the condition, if it is get matched, it returns true. If this condition is triggered and it's matched, and it's going to return true. So we are filtering only the condition which is going to return true, the query which is going to return true. That's the reason we are using this filter boolean. Okay, fine. Okay, I think this should filter the data based on the, yep, now you can see it's already started working over here. UI developer is not there, so close this. Now it should return the entire data. Perfect. And now if I search for graphic, bingo, there we go. See, we got the data, and it's basically filtering the data based on the the title, whatever we are typing over here. Okay, so now let's search for the category wise filtering. So I think I added a lot of software development. Yep, here we go. See, and look at that, animation is also working perfectly fine, right? So if I click this, it is going to be removed. See, look at that. Now if I click that, and if I'm searching for content creator, so content, and that is should filter the content creator who's in that specific category. See, this is what I'm talking about. So we finish the search filter and the category wise filtrations. Now all we have to do is to go ahead and create the date wise filtration, and that is what we are going to do now. Okay, so if you check it out over here, these filters are going to be applied only if you are in the search page. It is not going to be displayed even in the home page. So we have to do that exactly in the same way. So I'm going to close this, and I know this working perfectly. So let me clear it. So bingo, let me clear that. Let me keep all the data, and let me get back to the sidebar, and let's open this sidebar routes, because this is the place where we are displaying all those things. Okay, so now what I have to do is, all we have to do is to make sure that we are inside the search page. So I'm just going to say const is search page is equals to path name starts with open it slash search. If it is say so, then we are inside the search page, right? And I think this is the place where we are displaying the sidebar routes. So right after here only, so we have to do that stuff. So let's say if it is search page, then I need to display this. So I'm gonna create a box, add components box. Make sure not as a lucid icon, make sure that is from add components box. Perfect. And here I'm gonna bring a separator first. So let's say separator from where, so we don't have that yet. So let's go to the chat cn and search for separator. Click this npm, and let's open up and go to here and install it. So that is going to install the separator now, installing the separator. Perfect. And let's break this. Let's say separator from add components UI separator, close it. Perfect. All right. So now let's check it out how it's looking. You should be able to see the separator over here, but not in the home page. Bingo. Perfect. So let's get back to the search. All right. So now I'm going to make some customization for this. So this is going to px4, py4, item everything should be in the starting point, and justify everything should be in the starting point, and space y is going to be 4. And right after here, I'm going to bring an h2 tag, class name, text, of course, it's going to be a large text, and the text muted, it's going to be the foreground, and the tracking, of course, it's going to be wide. Then inside here, I'm just going to say filters. Okay, so this is not supposed to looks like that. The reason is because the box is in the flex in a row direction. So let's change this to column direction. Here we go. Perfect. Next, what I need to do, we are going to do the date wise filtration, something like this: today, yesterday, this week, and all those options. So let's go here. Right after here, I'm just going to say filter the data by created at field. Okay, so let's say date filter as a component. So we don't have this component yet, so we have to create that component. So let's go ahead and create that inside the dashboard components. I'm gonna say this as date filter.tsx. All right, and let's mark this as use client, then RAFC as date filter. Just ignore this, not need necessary, and let's bring this and import it, save it. Now you should be able to see that date filter. Okay, so basically what we are going to do is we are going to bring a select option. Basically this is just a select option, select. I hope we already installed the select. Okay, I think we already installed this one package select. Anyways, I'm not sure. Even if you're reinstalling it, that's not a problem. So let's reinstall it. All right, so it's installing the select. Bingo, it is done. So let's get back over here. Okay, so this, it's going to load this data. So I'm going to copy this one and let's paste it straight away over here. Then I'm going to copy this one and I'm going to replace it over here. Let's make sure it is being displayed. All right, it is working as it's supposed to be. Perfect. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to display our custom data. So I'm going to create myself a date filter data. Okay, this is going to looks like something like this. Okay, oops, something like this. Okay, something like this. So don't worry, I already dropped this in the gist. You can click the link in the description and you can copy this from there, or you can pause the video and type it by yourself. You can check it out over here. See, this is the way. You can simply copy it from there and you can paste it over here. Okay, then now we have that data in our hand. Okay, so now what we have to do is we need to get few more objects over here. Oh, wait a second. Okay, so my bad. So this is supposed to be not like this. This is an array, just a data array. This is supposed to be inside this date filter over here. My bad. Okay, so by the time when I'm copying it, I literally copied everything. My bad. So copy this and paste it the data alone. Then what I need to do, I need to get the router instance and we need to get the path name. So const router is equals to use router from where, from the next navigation, and you need to get the path name, const path name, which is use path name from next navigation. Save those changes. Okay, so and next what we need to do is, so here I need to display that data first inside the selected content. Instead of this, I need to display that data. So I'm going to say data.map, get the item out of it, then render it. So select item and supply the key. Key is going to be item.value itself, the key, and inside this select item I'm going to supply the item.label. Okay, and you need to supply the value prop. So value, which is going to be the item.value itself. Okay, so now if you check it out, save it, you should be able to see. Okay, it's taking some time to okay, so here everything is changed, but the placeholder still remain the theme itself. So I'm just going to say filter by date, something like this. So instead of width, something like this, I'm going to say 48. Okay, something like that. So now you should be able to see filter by date, and if you choose yesterday, the value gets updated over here. So based on this changing value, I need to push the route So what I'm going to do is for the select, I'm going to say on value change, I'm going to call a callback function, and here I will get the selected one. Then I'm going to send that to on change selected. So don't worry about that. Still, we don't have this on change method. Make sure C as a capital one, because that's a custom function we are about to create now. So const on change is equals to a callback function. So basically over here, we are going to get a value, which is going to be a string itself. Okay. Then I need to get all the current query params. Whatever the query params are there, I need to get everything. Then I need to keep those things, and I need to add this created at filter, including with that current query params. So what I'm going to say is const current query params is equals to, I need this one more package called query string qs from query string. So this is going to help us to get the query params. So qs dot parse the URL. So using the window object, I'm going to get the current location, including that query params, and everything will be fetched. Okay, then I'm going to get the query alone from that URL. So this, by this way, you can get all the current query params. Then right after that, const updated query params, because we need to include the created at also in that query params list. So I'm going to spread all the current query params. Along with this, I'm going to say created at, so which is going to be this one. Copy it, don't make any misspelling mistake. Created at is going to be with the value whatever we fetched. Okay, then we need to construct the URL. Const URL is equals to qs dot stringify URL. Open it and open the two different objects over here, one and another one. So make sure they are two different objects. Enter and supply the URL, which is going to be the path name itself. Then supply the query, which is going to be the updated query params. And then right after here in this, which is going to be skip the null value, we need to make sure that is true. Then we need to skip the empty string, and that is also should be true. Okay, once all these things are done, right after here, we need to make sure router dot push that URL. Perfect. So let's save these changes. I think this is the one. All right, let's make sure whether it is working or not. So now if I choose today, that should be pushed over here, created at filter as today. Bingo. So but still it's not getting filtered the data. The reason is because we haven't searched anything over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the get jobs. Let's get into the get jobs. Okay, so we need to make sure right after here whether the created filter is provided or not. Check whether the created at filter is provided or not, just like the same way what we did for that. So if we have the created at filter, open it. So const get the current date, because we know that the created at field is the timestamp. So from that timestamp, how I can extract the how I can check the value whether it is today or yesterday, last week, how I can perform the date wise range filters. Okay, so I'm going to show you. So I'm going to fetch the current date from new date instance provided by the TypeScript itself, the default object itself. Okay, it's a function. Then right after here, let's start date is equals to, which is going to be the type of the date itself. Okay, which is the type of the date itself. Then I'm going to say switch case, open it. Then I'm going to supply the created at filter in it. Okay, so case today. Case today. If you check it out over here, what is the value we are supplying? Case today. So then open it. So let's say start date is equals to new date of that created current date. Okay, that is the current date, that's the start date. So we are supplying the current date over there, then we're gonna break it because today means what, that's the current date, right? So then right after here we are going to bring the one more case, which is going to be the case with what, case which is going to be the yesterday. If the case is going to be yesterday, then we need to get the start date is equals to new date of the current date. Then we need to say start date dot set date from where, from the start date dot get date function. We are going to get the date from the start date, whatever we from the current date we have the we created the instance called start date, which is going to have the current date. Okay, so I'm going to get that, and I'm going to update the same value by what, by minusing it 1, which means yesterday. Like that's the reason we are minusing it 1 from the current date. If you reduce it -1, that is the yesterday. Okay, then break it. Okay, so right after here I'm going to create one more case. So this case is going to be what, this week. Copy it, this week. If the case is equals to this week, then get this, paste it over here. Then we need to get start date dot set date. Inside here I'm going to get the date, start date dot get that specific date, then minus that with the current date dot get day. Okay, so the what exactly we are doing here is we are setting the start date to the beginning of the current week. That is what we are doing over here. What exactly we are doing here, set the start date to the beginning of the current week. This is what we are doing. Oops, not this week, this week. Okay, save the changes. And at the end, what should we do? We have to break it. This week will be breaked over there. Okay, then I'm going to copy this case. Then I'm going to paste it one more time. Let me enable the word wrap. And this time, instead of this week, this is going to be the last week. So get the start date and set the start date, and let's get the date and get the current first day of that week. Then you should minus it with 7, so that will gives you the last week. Okay, so here what we are doing, set the start date to the beginning of the previous week. This is the place where we are setting it to the previous week. Okay, and then we need to do one more thing, which is going to be this month. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it. This is going to say this month. Okay, so over here I'm just going to delete these things which is not necessary. This is the place where we are setting the current date, right? Setting the date. Get the full year from that date, get the full year, then current date dot get month, get that particular month, then supply 1. Okay, so here what we are doing is set the start date to the beginning of the current month. This is what we are doing over here. We are simply setting the start date to the current month, beginning of the current month. Set the start date to the beginning of the current month. Okay, and once all these things are being completed, and all the way at the bottom we should say the default, which is going to be start date, which is going to be new date of 0. So which means set the start date to the like what is it, like the epoch, we used to say it is an epoch, like 90700101, which means the very first it's a margin of the date, something like that. Okay, so I'm not sure what exactly it is. So if I search for this, let me check it out. I'm not sure, I forgot about it. See, this is what it will set to 1972, so on. Okay, so we are trying to set, which means we are trying to fetch every single record from that specific date. Okay, so that is what we are doing. If none of this are there, by default it is going to be like this. Okay, perfect. Now I think the queries, everything will be updated. Okay, now the switch case will have the value. Then we need to include this condition in the query params, right? So right after here, we need to add this condition on the in the query, which means we need to include it. We need to include this condition. Okay, so query dot var dot let's open the schema and let's check. Yep, created at, copy this, created at, which is equals to greater than or equals to, that's the operator name, set that particular start date. Okay, so that is going to fetch the job with the created at, which is either greater than or equals to that start date instance, whatever we created. So let's save these changes. See, now we are getting the jobs list as 404 because none of the jobs are created today. So if I search for yesterday, sorry, still nothing. This week, nothing. Last week, here we go. See, we have the data which is 3 days ago, which means it's the last week. And if I say this month, that is going to give me the entire records over here, right? This is the data that we applied for that created in the last month, which is working perfectly fine. All right, then what we need to do, we have to bring the rest of the filtrations and we need to display the applied filter sections over here. That's also we need to create. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's bring the work schedule. So let's get into the sidebar routes, where it is over here. So right after that sidebar, so let's bring the this date filter, right after date filter. So I'm gonna add a separator. So let's say separator. Okay, then right after here, I'm gonna add this one more time and paste it. And this time this is going to be working schedule. Save it. And this is how it should looks like. Perfect. And right after here, we need to bring the checkbox container, something like this. See, the select container. So I'm going to bring the checkbox container, so which I don't have yet. So I have to create that. So let's say checkbox container. Okay, so this is the component which we have to create. So we don't have that yet. So let's go ahead and create that. Go here and let's say checkbox. Okay, so for this is the one that you should copy it, and let's say paste it. Okay, so it is added. Okay, so now what I need to do is, all I have to do is to get back over here and let me create a new component called checkbox container.tsx. Okay, so let's say that checkbox is going to be a client component, and let's say RAFC checkbox container, and let's import it over here. So save it. That should bring the checkbox container. Perfect. Okay, so now for this working schedule, we need some default data. So I'm going to use this array, like the shift timing data, like full time or part time or contract, whatever it is. So I'm going to copy this. Okay, then I'm going to use it in the filtering data over here for our purpose. So I'm right after this array, routes array, I'm going to paste that shift timing data. That is the data that we are going to use for this particular shift timing. And right after here, I'm going to create one more function to handle that shift timing. So handle shift timing change is equals to be a callback function. Okay, that's an empty function for the time being. Let's get back to the checkbox container now, and let's create that interface. In order to receive the data props, we need to get that data, and we need to get that particular function also. So I'm going to say checkbox container props, which is going to be two different things. One is going to be the data, and for this we need a type, right? For that, what if you check your data over here, we having the array where it is with the value and the label. It's an object which contains the value and the label. Along with that, we need to have one more parameter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a type over here. So interface of applied filter, which is going to be, it's going to have the value, which is should be a string, and it's going to be having the label, which is that also going to be a string, and it's going to have checked, which is an optional, which is going to be a boolean one. So this value and the label are coming from where? From here. But this checked, whether it is checked or not, which is we need to update this, right? If the user selected that checkbox, then it will going to be having that checkbox as checked one, which is true. If you are not selected, then it is not going to have that value. So that's the thing. Now the data needs to be this specific type. Okay, so I'm going to use that applied filter over here. Then on change, which is going to have a function like data values as a string array, and it's going to return a void at the end, nothing else. Then let's destructure it and get those things over here as checkbox container props, and let's get that data and as well as the on change. Save it, and let's supply the data over here, which is nothing but your shift timing data array. Then on change, in that you need to supply your handle change function, which is nothing but handle shift timing change. So save those changes. Now you will not get any errors over here. So let's get back over here for the checkbox container. Now let's start displaying that checkbox containers over here. So all right, so now what we need to do is, so this checkbox container, if you check it out over here, so all these data having the data and value. But once I click this particular full time alone, it's going to have that one extra object in that data, which is nothing but the checked, right? So I need to supply this to the URL prop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, so basically over here, so I'm going to get those filters. I'm going to create one more state, use state, which is going to be filters, and set filters. Then I'm going to supply the data into it. Then that should be the applied filter array type. Okay. Perfect. Now here I'm going to say use effect, open it, callback function. Okay, so here inside here I'm going to say set filters of that specific data and use the array dependency injection whenever the data changes. Okay, so here now what I need to do is I'm going to say class name, which is going to be a class name, flex, and width should be full, and flex should be in the column direction, and item everything should be in the starting point, and justify everything should be in the starting point, and gap between everything should be 2. Okay, so inside this division, now what I have to do is I'm gonna say filters dot map, open it. I'm gonna get that item out of it, render it, Inside here we need to render it, so let's create a div, and this div is going to have the key as the item dot value itself because that's the unique one. Then use the class name with the cn from the utils prop utils. Okay, don't worry about that, later we can customize it. Then I need to bring the checkbox over here, checkbox from add components UI. Okay, then right after here I need to display that item dot label along with it. So let's check it out how it's looking for time being. Now this is how it should looks, right? For this division, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say flex item center, and the gap between them it's going to be 2. So here next what I need to do is I need to figure it out whether the item is checked or not. If the item dot checked, if that it's checked, then the text color should be the purple 500, or else the text should be muted 400. So when it does have that, whenever you selected it, it's going to have that, right? So here the checkbox, it should be checked when, if the item dot checked, it should be checked, or else it need to be false. So how I need to figure it out? On checked change, whenever the check particular change, it's going to call this, and I'm going to handle that by using a local function called handle checked change, and I'm going to supply that item into it because we need to update this item over here. We need to update that particular item over here, then only we can get the selected value, then we can push it into the URL param. Okay, so that is what we need to do. So it might quite confusing, so don't worry, I got you. I will explain this code once we finished it. Okay, so now what we need to do is I'm going to create one more function over here. So const handle that function, open it, and this is the applied one. So applied one, and let's say this is going to be the type of applied filter, because if you selected it, you selected this particular data alone. So we need to push that, and we need to change some settings over here. Then we need to push it back to the on change function, right? So here const updated filters is equals to filters dot map, and get that item out of it, So if the item dot value is equals to applied dot value, then we need to return that whatever the items it does have, return it. Then I just need to say checked colon not items dot checked. So we need to toggle the change. So if you click it, the next time when you're clicking it, you need to remove it, right? That is what we are doing here, right? So right after this one, if condition, I just need to say return that particular item. Okay, so then I need to set this filters, then I need to update the filters, So save it. And now if I click this, you can see the color is changed. If I click this, this is one all changed. If I click it, now it is removed, and if I click it, it will be removed. The reason is because when I first time I'm clicking it, it is not having that property called checked. So it is going to check for that whether the item value or the applied, whatever the field, whenever I'm clicking over here, I'm sending that particular item. So you will get the applied item, and we are trying to map it whether it is equal or not. If it is equal, then we are unchecking it. So I'm just going to say if I click it, so it is not selected, so it is going to make it from false to true. Now if I click again the same item will be passed, and it will figure it out the values are same, and it will make the checked property from true to false. So that's the reason it is getting updated. But this value, whatever the selected value, it doesn't have any connection to this sidebar routes. So what I need to do, I need to update this selected item to on change, call that on change function, and over here I need to do the same stuff. So here I'm just going to say updated filters dot filter it, get the item out of it. Then I need to say item dot checked. If the item dot checked, then I need to map it, get that item, then send the item dot value alone. That is what we need to do, because there are possibility of selecting multiple. You can select the full-time record, or you can select the contract, or even you can select the part-time. So you need to send it as an array. So that's the reason we are checking out over here. So I need to figure it out whatever the data are selected. So I need to get all the checked items, then I need to return their value alone. I don't need the label, I need the value alone. That's what we are doing over here, right? So save these changes. Now let's get back over here, and inside this handle shift timing. Okay, now we need to update. So now if you check, if before that I'm gonna get this shift timing, which is going to be any as an array. So here I'm just going to say console.log, open it, and let's say shift timings, and let's bring the shift timing, save the changes, and let me get back over here, inspect the elements, go to the console, close it. Now if I select this, see, we are getting the shift timing as full time, and if I include part time, if I click this, I'm getting the contract. If I click it again, the contract will be removed. See, this is what we are trying to do. Now I can send this array to the get jobs, and I can filter these things based on that value in that array, right? So I don't need this console anymore. Perfect. So now what we need to do, const current query params equals to qs, which we don't have yet. Let's import it. Import qs from query string. Then over here I just need to say parse the URL, open it, window dot location dot href. Then I just need to say I need to get the query alone. Okay, then const updated query params is equals to, open it, whatever the current parameters, destructure it. In that I'm going to include the, where it is, shift timing. Yep, this is the one. Include the shift timing, which is going to be the shift timings, the array, whatever the value we got. Then we need to construct the URL. Const URL is equals to qs dot stringify URL, open it, get the two different objects over here, and inside the first one you need to supply the URL, which is going to be the path name. Then you need to supply the query, which is going to be your updated query, updated query params. Okay, then right after here, just exactly the same way, skip the null, true, then skip the empty string, that is also true. Okay, then not all the way at the end, you need to push the router dot push, open it, and supply the URL into it. Bingo. So now if I click this, you should see shift timing as full time. If I include the part time, you should be able to see full time, and shift timing as going to be the part time, right? This is how the URL param is going to looks like now. Now let's get into the get jobs, because we need to update something inside the get jobs, right? Because that's the place where we need to filter the data. Okay, so over here now what I need to do is, right after here, this is the place where we are going to do what for, filter the data based on the shift timing. So right after here, I'm just going to say let formatted shift timing is equals to shift timing. If I do have the shift timing, then I need to split it by using what, this comma. Okay, because over here, even though if you're seeing it as a two different thing, it's going to return you as an array. So that's the reason I'm going to split it, right, using comma. I'm going to split that array, and I'm going to split it by using it's going to return you as a string, and in that it's going to delimit it by using comma. So I'm going to split it, and I'm going to convert it as an array. So right after here, okay, So here, if the formatted shift timing and if the formatted shift timing dot length is greater than 0, is that a case, then we need to construct the query. So query dot var use the shift timing is equals to, I need to make sure in, because it's an array, if that any of this value is inside that array, then we need to filter the data based on that. Okay, so that's what we are doing over here. So save these changes. There we go. See, we don't have full time and including the part time. So let's remove it. Here we go. These are all the full time. If I remove the contract, if I click contract, see, we have only one thing. If I click full time, these are all the full time. This is the, if I click the contract, okay, it's ignoring the contract. All right, so this filter is working because we don't have the contract, only one. Okay, perfect. So it is working how it's supposed to. Okay, so now we applied the working schedule, and just exactly the same way, now what we need to do, we need to apply the next routes. What are the things that is need to be applied on the next, which is nothing but your working modes and the experience. So let's copy the array of working modes and the experience together. So let me copy this, because since we finished this one, the rest is going to be exactly the same, no changes in that. Let's get back to the sidebar routes and let's paste it right after here, working modes and the experience. Okay, so now we have those two things. So what I'm going to do is, basically we just need to check the data over here. See, remote, and for the experience data, based on that, it's going to be the numerical value. So here I'm going to copy this route, copy, and I'm going to paste it. This time this is not going to be handle shift timing, this time this is going to be handle what is that, working modes. Perfect. And this is not going to be shift timing, this is going to be, instead of the shift timing, this is going to be working modes, something like that. Okay, working modes. And inside this we need to copy this work mode, and let's get back over here. Inside this shift timing, remove it and change it to work mode. Okay, that is going to be updated over here. And right after here, this is going to be an array. So array format should be separated by what, comma. Okay, so make sure that it's also included over here. Then I'm going to copy this. What we need to do is scroll all the way to the bottom over here, and I'm going to copy and paste exactly it one more time. This time this is going to be working mode, and this time this is going to be work modes data, and handle it with the handle working modes. Okay, save it. And now let's, if I get it back over here, see, if you click the remote, it is going to add work mode is equals to remote. Okay, perfect, but it is not filtering the data. So let's get back to the get jobs and scroll all the way to the bottom. And over here, now what you need to do, you just need to repeat the exact same stuff what we did for the formatted shift timing. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it. This time this is not going to be formatted shift timing, this time this is going to be formatted working modes. Okay, formatted working mode. Instead of shift timing, split it with the work mode. Okay, and copy this work mode, and this is needs to be over here as well as. Okay, now okay, everything is changed. Now if I save these changes, there we go. See, it's applying the filter. If I remove this, we should say look for hybrid. Now we should get only the hybrid. Okay, look at here, this is the hybrid data. So this is working mode is working perfectly fine. All right, so now let's get back to the sidebar routes one more time. Let's copy this one more time and let's paste it one more time. This time this is going to be what? We finish the work mode, and this time this is going to be the experience. Based on the experience, we need to filter it. So let's apply the experience data. So far we don't have that function yet, so I'm gonna copy this function one more time and paste it. Instead of handling working modes, this is going to say handle experience, so copy this and let's apply it over here. And this function, this is not going to be working mode, this is going to be experience, okay, because that is the function it's supposed to be, experience. And over here, instead of work mode, you need to supply the years of experience, okay, years of experience. Perfect. Nothing else we need to change over here, so save it. No need to change anything at all. And let's get back to the get jobs, because we need to make sure those things need to be filtered based on that specific thing. So over here, I'm going to copy this one and paste it over here. This time this is going to be, instead of working modes, this thing is going to be formatted years of experience, YO experience, years of experience. So instead of work mode, this is going to be years of experience. So let's split it out, okay. And if the length everything is greater than 0, then we are going to format it in the base of years of experience. So save these changes. And now if I'm looking for fresher, there we go, see, they are looking for fresher. And now if I am looking for 2 to 4 years, nope, we don't have that. 0 to 2 years, there we go, see, we have 2 years. All right, if I am looking for fresher, that is also included. Look at that, fresher and the 2 years of experiences. All right, so bingo. But if you check it out over here, so it is supposed to display the value, something 0 or whatever it is, like, but it's supposed to display like fresher or 0 to 2 years of experience, something like that, right? So let's go ahead and fix that. Where we have to fix it, we need to fix it on the job card, right? Because that is the place where we are displaying. So let's get the job card item, okay. This is the place where we are displaying the years of experience, okay. So for that, what we need to do is so inside here, I'm going to create one more function called get experience label. Open it, supply this. So don't worry, we don't have this function yet because we need to create this function. So let's get back over to the top, and right after here, I'm just going to say const get experience label. Oops, spelling wrong, label. Okay, so this function is going to get the value, which is going to be the string itself. Then I'm just going to say const experience is equals to experience data. So I need to bring that data over here as well, as because we need that data in order to figure it out that. So I'm going to copy this data and I'm going to paste it over here as well as at the top, because I need this data to filter what years of experience that this particular code is having. So let's use this experience data dot filter. Filter, we are going to filter it, okay. So this function helps you to if you are filtering it, it's going to return you an array. So whatever the card it's having, it's going to have either it's a fresher or it's a 2 to 4 years of experience or 5 years of, it's going to have only one record. We don't need an array of records. So let's find the data. So find, let's get that experience. If the experience dot value is equals to the value whatever which is coming inside with this function, Okay, then we can have that experience, completely experience. So return, if that is the experience, return the experience dot label. If it is not, return the string as NA, not applicable, something like this. So this is going to be get experience label. So save it. Now you should be able to see fresher or 0 to 2 years, something like that. See, perfect. This is what we need. And if you don't want to format this, let's check it out whether it is without formatting, because for 0 to 2 years it's removing the hyphen for the form, because we created this formatted string function to remove the hyphen. So save it, and here we go. See, now we are displaying the value like how we exactly wanted it. All right, so this is what we needed it. Now we applied all these filtering sections over here. Everything is working fine based on the search, whatever we are looking for. Now all we have to do is to apply this applied filter section, and that is what we have to do next, which we are going to do it now.